If you run a service-based business, you know how much of a grind it can be to constantly chase down new clients, customize solutions, and trade your time for money. In this video, I'm going to show you how to productize your service in 12 easy steps so you can free yourself from this process. You will learn the genius Trojan horse outreach method to get your foot in the door with AI, how to leverage AI in make.com to clone yourself and deliver services at scale, the risk-free trial offer that makes working with you a no-brainer for your clients. This is the exact method I used to help one client of mine go from taking 4 hours to write a YouTube script to 30 minutes right now, and a lead gen agency go from 90 minutes to write a full campaign to 15 minutes. If you have been struggling to scale your business due to thinking you're the only one who can do what you do, this video might give you a new perspective. So let's get into it. Before we get into the steps on how you can do this for yourself, I want to show you how this looks like once it's ready. So we're going to press run and this will start with a Google form. So I'm just going to fill this really quick so I can show you. You'd submit something like this. Of course, I didn't do it in much detail, and this flow will start to run. So basically this will capture the information and it will run through all of the large language models that we have here. As you can see, we have 2 Claudes, 4 GPTs and 2 other Claude AI. This is up to your choosing, as I will show you in the guide I will share with you in just a second. But as we do this, I can show you what the end result will be. So you would get an email and it would be customized with your own brand theme, and the outputs will go into here. So you would get a full copy deck with all the emails that were written so you can use it. So this is what the solution looks like. Now let's talk about why you need one of these and how you can build it yourself. So I prepared a little presentation so I do not get lost and I cover all the steps that you need in order to build one of these. This presentation will be linked down in the description if you want access to this document. So without further ado, let's get into it. The tools you will need for this will be a make.com account. If you don't have one, I will have a link as well in the description. An API key, whether for Claude AI or OpenAI, Google Docs, Google Drive and Gmail, you should have that. So no need to worry about that. First question we need to answer is, why should you productize your service in the first place? And there are a couple of reasons to this. Firstly, there is a limited number of people who can purchase your high ticket services, which is what you are selling, and without other options you are losing out on potential revenue. Secondly, a productized offer helps build trust for clients considering your 5K services. You can see this as a risk-free way for clients to see your value. You can use it with clients who are on the fence about working with you so they can see your value. Gives them a taste of your expertise without requiring a full commitment. Because think about it, you have people that are charging 3K and take 2 weeks to deliver one copy deck. In 5 minutes you can deliver them a copy deck that they can use in their own campaigns. This is very good for skeptical potential clients. So it's good to have something you can send them up front for them to test you out before signing a big client, a big contract. An example of this, let's say you are a YouTube agency. You can provide 10 video ideas based on the client's service, following winning format structures. And in another video, I will show you how this looks like, because we have this built internally. If you are more skilled at what you do and have superior data, because you will understand in a bit that prompting and data that makes a good solution like this, you can do something like this, which is create a long form bot, let's say, in the short form bot that creates both in the same amount of time that it took to run this, which was in total less than 1 minute. And this would look a bit like this. The potential of this, it's once it's built, you can leverage this in multiple parts of your business. You can use it in outreach to increase your chances of getting a lead, because other people are contacting the same leads that you are contacting, but they are contacting with the messaging, do you want to hop on a call? You will be contacting them with, I wrote a free script for you, are you interested in seeing it? And you can also use it to assist you and your team members in service delivery. Like I told you in the beginning, the example of a client of mine that used to take 4 hours to write a script and now takes approximately 30 minutes. He has about 50 to 70 scripts that he has to write per month. And you can see how 3 hours less in 50 scripts per month, that's a big difference in time. And in this game, all we have is time and energy. So the more time you can have to focus on higher ROI tasks, the more results you can have. This is how you could leverage both at the same time. I will get more into depth in this in a bit, but let's say you individually you created a long form one, a short form one, and an ideas one. You can basically use Airtable to push the data that is completed, and every time the data is uploaded into this, for example for the long form, the short form will create a short form video based on this step. The same for ideas. From the client's perspective, he fills a form like this and he gets an email with either emails or scripts. In this case, we're gonna mention emails. From your perspective, you might need to copy chief the copy if you want, or you can delegate to someone to copy chief if this is in service delivery, because in outreach it will be sent directly. The dynamic changes because when you prove your worth upfront before him paying you, you gain the upper hand in the negotiation, because now you provided value. When you provide value to someone, humans will want to give back. At least that's how most humans work. When you give something, when you receive something, you will feel a need to give back. We've covered this already. You can use it as a Trojan horse as well. So like I said, in outreach, instead of you reaching out, hey, do you want to hop on a call? You will be reaching out with, hey, I've made a free script for you. Would you like to see it? And what we are trying to do here is make the yes as easy for the client to say as possible. Now let's get into how you can build one of these. And this will be step by step. As you can see, it's these 12 steps that we will now cover. So step 1 will be choosing your productized offer. This is pretty simple. If you are a Facebook ads agency, you won't create a automation, let's say, for emails. Step 2, you will need to set up your data entry platform. Step 3, you will choose your inputs. Then you will connect forms to make.com. You will add intelligence, which is all of these large language models. You'll create the prompts for these large language models. You will test and refine them. You'll create a Google Doc template. I will show you this. You'll add this Google Doc to make.com and make sure the outputs are going to the place you want them to go. You'll add the Google Drive model. You can see here it's optional, and I'm going to explain to you in a bit why that is. And then finally, you will send this Google Doc through email. Then you will finalize the flow. So let's get into it. So step 1 is deciding on your productized offer. When deciding on your productized offer, you want to consider what's possible based on your expertise. You want to focus on writing related tasks, as AI has limitations when it comes to generating images and links. And here are some possibilities. For example, if you are an email marketing agency, excuse me, in your document you can have included how to set up DNS, you can have a list so they can go export contacts, and you can generate email scripts like the one I showed you in this one. If you are a YouTube agency, you can generate 10 ideas, you can generate 10 hooks, you can generate a free script. If you are a Facebook ads agency, you can have ad copy or advertorials. Note, only you will be able to identify the highest ROI activity to build a productized offer within your business. We can help, of course, but it should be you. For example, a lead gen agency could provide 3 possible V1 emails plus a list to try out. Facebook ads agency could suggest possible targetings and ad copy. The YouTube agency could offer 10 winning video ideas plus hooks. Next step is choosing your data entry platform. So this is how will the flow start, the trigger action. It will be either Typeform, Google Form, or Airtable form from what we've seen so far. Let's continue. You will then want to reverse engineer the process so you can determine the necessary inputs you will need to have on this form. And the best way to do this is to ask yourself, okay, if I wanted to ask or to delegate this either to a mentor of mine, so for example, the creation of a cold email campaign, if I wanted to delegate this either to a copywriter or to my mentor, what information would I need to send his way so he could do the task? And that is the information that you want to then put as inputs on the form. As you can see, what is the industry plus type of company you're targeting? What gap in their business are they trying to address? How do you help address it? CTA, things of this nature. For example, YouTube titles, the required information would be the client service, the target audience, and the dream outcome of the target audience. Then you will need to build the form. So for this example, I will use Google Forms to collect the necessary information that then can be passed into the large language models, these ones, so it can work. First step, you want to create a basic Google form and add the relevant questions. You want to customize the theme of your Google form. It helps your perspective, the way your clients see you. This is how you do it. So you go here and you add a header. Then you want to go into responses and viewing sheets so you can save the answers, as I will explain a bit later on. And if this is the first time that you use, let me show you, that you use make.com with Google Forms, you will have to set up the make.com extension so then this can appear, because this won't appear for you. This is how you do it. You click here, so on the 3 dots you get add-ons, and this is the one that you will look for. So make for Google Forms. You will install it, and after that this will appear. The way you do this is you will click here, make for Google Forms, you will configure webhook. This will appear on the right. You will enable webhook, and let's create a new scenario so you can see how this is done, this step. You'll come here, webhook, not mailhook, webhook. You'll add, let's say, test. You will save, you will copy this address, you will paste it here, you will save it, and settings will be saved. For example, now if you do this, if you run once, if you run once, this will look for information. Why isn't this running? Okay, will look for information. Whenever this form is submitted, information will flow through here, and you will see this as payload, the question, the answer that you had. The same way that here in this webhook, you can see all of the information that we got. So this is the first step. You will want to set this up. This is how you do it. If you have this document, you can follow this step by step, and then you will want to test the webhook to make sure that the information is flowing from one place, so Google Forms, to your make.com. Then you will need, next step will be to add intelligence. Here you will choose between OpenAI API or Claude Anthropic API is extra. You can think of this as the brain that will perform the required tasks. So you have the information, now we need a brain to perform action with that information. For simplicity purpose, we will use OpenAI here because it's easier to get an API key, and I want to make this as easy for you. As you can see in mine, I use both, so Claude and OpenAI. This is how you get your API key. So you'll go to this link, you'll create a new secret key. I won't authenticate right now, you will copy paste it. Then this is how you set up OpenAI on Make.com. You will add another module, choose OpenAI and select create a completion, and this is how you do it. Create a completion. You will choose a model. You will need to add max tokens, and I will show you the other step here, which is setting the temperature to 0.08. And let me talk a little bit about temperature. For temperature, you click show advanced settings, and I usually put it at 0.08. Basically, the higher this number is, the more creative it will get. The lower it is, the more it will follow your task. Because we are prompting it and giving it instructions ourselves, we want to keep this as low as possible, but not too low. So 0.08 seems to work for me. Okay, true. Perform the task. And we can move on to the next step, which is exactly this. So you add message, you choose user and write perform task. Click OK and save. We will come back to this later, but for now leave it like this. When it comes to types of prompts, there are two types of prompts. So there are system prompts and there are user prompts. System prompts is a way to provide context, instructions and guidelines to the large language model before presenting it with a question or task. Consider this the how to perform the task. Then you will have user prompts where you will specify what task to perform and with what information. I will make a video because I have this document ready, which is a prompting masterclass, so I can go more in depth into this because it will be a minimum 1 hour video because this is where most of the value is. But you can see here a couple of best prompting practices where for the system prompt you will want to give it a role. Use his ego, so instead of you are a copywriter, you are the world's best copywriter. Give it some skills. So for example, if I'm doing a fill in the blank templates for titles, I would do something like, you are excellent at picking the one word that fits best within this template that is going to be given to you. You'll want to give it a task, so your job will be to write X. You'll want to give it guidelines, so here's the information to assist you, and then you paste, for example, an SOP. Then you want to format it properly. You don't want to have big chunks of text. You want to format it properly. This will be system prompts is what I showed you. User prompts, you will need to link the information from the webhook and reference its meaning to the large language model. So a bit like this. So these are the templates to follow. This is the content for you to use. This won't make any sense for you, but let me show you here. How you do this is when you click this, you will receive all of the information from the payload, and then you will have here untitled question. I can try to show you without showing too much. This is how you do it. So you want to specify the information so it knows, okay, what is this answer. So for example, here the type of company you are reaching out to, and then we put the response from the webhook, the gap in the business they are trying to address, and the answer from the webhook. Pretty simple. This is why it's important, if you remember on the first step, to define the inputs. This is why choosing the inputs is done before adding intelligence. By the way, I can show you something really quick, which in case you want to add an input, because you say, okay, I need this, for example, what is your client's name? If you want to add an input to your form after you are testing it because you see it's missing some information, this is how you do it. So let's say adding an extra question. You would come here, you would redetermine data structure, you would come here, test one, you would fill it again, and successfully determined. Two things will happen here. Let me put it like this so you can see. Two things will happen when you do this. Firstly, the information that you used, okay, in this case I hadn't put it, so I can show it again. Let me show you. We'll do it again because I want to show you that the information vanishes. This is details that took me a lot of time to learn. That's why I want to give them to you up front so you don't have to waste time. Okay, it didn't work. But pretty much you can see that all of the ones that we added were added here. Let's continue. This is how you link information. I just showed you. Keep in mind, when referencing information in the user prompt, you want to specify it. You don't want to just have the answer, you want to specify what the answer is. So what the user wants to talk about, and then on the form it's what do you want to talk about. A little bit on finalizing the user prompt, you want to specify the desired output to avoid getting unnecessary information in the output. These will be things like make the email X words long, and as the output only give me the content of the email, nothing else. This is so you can avoid things like here is the information you required and then the email, because if you are doing it at scale in a document, you don't want to receive that sort of information. You only want to receive the email, as you can see here. Only the email, no, this is the information you required. You will want to iterate on the prompts because it's impossible that you will get it right in the first time. Changes can be made both in system and user prompts. To give you an idea, one of the most recent builds we did for a client took over 110 tests, as you can see here. To test and refine your prompt, you have a couple of ways you can do it. You can either check it on here and based on this refine the prompt, or you can add an email and send the output through the email. This way you can receive the output via email for guidance, and this is how you do something like this. So you'd come here, Gmail or mail or Microsoft 365, subject can be test, content can be the result of this, and the recipient you would put yourself. So that every time this runs, information will come from here, the task will be performed, and the output you get from here will be sent through email to you. This is the importance of testing, so this is where you'll spend most of the time, because what you want to optimize in all of this flow is all of this. Because this is pretty simple. This is not so simple, but it's pretty simple. And this is pretty simple, Gmail and Google Drive. What you want to make sure is that your output is actually good, and this is where you make it good through your prompts. That's why one of the next videos you're gonna see from me, it's gonna be a prompting masterclass. To give you an idea of how time consuming this process is, this is my email when I'm aggressively testing one of these. You can see it's just receiving the same email, one change at a time. That's very important. If you are familiar with my content, I always mention Don't test, let's say one of your outputs isn't ideal. You don't want to change a lot of things in your prompt at once. You want to change one thing at a time, because these large language models are very sensible to change, and you want to see if the change impacted it or not. If you change two things at a time, you won't know what the change was that impacted the final result. So you always want to change one thing at a time. Excuse me. Once you are happy with the output you are getting, you will want to create a Google Doc that will serve as a template that the automation will push the outputs to. Let me repeat it. The Google Doc will serve as a template that the automation will push the output to. In this case that we saw, let me show you how that looks like. So we have their branded copy deck, then these are the variables which the output will be pushed to. So email 1 will come here, another email 1 will come here, email 2 will come here, another variant will come here. This, basically everything that isn't on double brackets will always be constant in the document. The things that have double variables is where your outputs will go. So it's very important that you spend a little bit of time on creating your document, because this will be very high ROI, because this branding, let's say this document, will be the document that will always be sent to your clients. And this is how you make it so that the output, as I showed you, and let me get it again, that the output always goes into a branded document instead of just getting the output. As you can see here, it comes here. This is how the output will look like once the automation is finished. This is so your mind can conceptualize what you need to write in your fill in the blank document. So it will come here, it will come here. This is bigger, but I just showed you this. Once you created the document, it's time to add it on make.com, and this is how you do it. I'm going to show you here. You come to Google Docs, you create a document from a template, you choose the document ID. For this case, let's just do the first one that shows up, title, test, and then you have to add here, if not it won't let you save a new document location. And as you can see, okay, let me choose another one because this doesn't have any fill in the blanks. Okay, let me show you. This document doesn't have any branding, but has this. So main idea identified, and then the double brackets. And here, you remove this, you'll see this. Main idea, it's those brackets, full scripts, hooks, and templated hooks. Then what you'll want to do is send the large language model. I can show you in this one. For each of these fill in the blanks, let's call them that, you will want to push the correspondent large language model output to this field. You can see these are all different large language models. That's how you do it. If you have the document, you should be following step by step. This is how you do it again. I explained this. Okay. It's very important. If you are building this so that other people will use it as well, you will need to add a step that gives access to the document, because the document that is created here will have my ownership, but I need to share access so that other people can see it. And this is how you will need to do it. You will need to leverage a Google Drive model and choose get share link. Just to give you an idea, can I save it? I can. Nice. So you'll Google Drive, get a share link, and now on the file ID you will put the document ID from the last step. This will work. Email address. Here you can do two things. Either if it's only for one person, you can write their email. If it's for a person that submits the form, you will need to add an input on the form, which is what is your email. And then here on the email address you put this response. So for example, if I use my email here, as you can see here, it will give access to my email. So you most likely, if you are following step by step, now what you'll have to do is you'll come here, you will add what is your email, you'll put it as a paragraph and you will put it here. And remember, you will have to redetermine data structure in order for it to appear here, because as you see, it doesn't appear right now. So for this, remember, redetermine data structure, fill in the form again. I mean, we can do it right now, why not? Okay, done. Now let me give you an advice as well, which is here on the title. Let's say this is email scripts. You can use here on the payload your client's name. So it would be, for example, my name Revampify. It would be email scripts for Revampify, as you can see here on the subject line. And I can show you here as well, emails for what's the client name. But now we have the email here on the payload. Okay, let's remove it because it still doesn't appear. There we go. What is your email? Don't forget file ID. You press OK. This is done. We can remove this one because it's no longer needed. But yeah, what this will allow you to do is share access to the document with form submitters. As I told you, as I just showed you, this is how you do it. If you are following on the document, you can do this step by step. Now we're going to again add the steps so we can send this information via email. Only this time they will receive a document, or you will receive a document, instead of an email with just context. And this is how you do it. You add an email model and choose send an email. You set up the email content. So this could be something like, hey, based on the information you provided, here's the shorts we created. And what you will use for this, the variable that you will send is this share link. As you can see here, email address, what is your email, and shorts for client name. It's very important to add personalization. Once you have done this properly, you should have something like this. It probably won't have as many large language models as this, but it will look something like this, just like this one looks. And now let me give you a little bit of an explanation. These modules, these four modules, if you are doing them this way, will always be constant. So the way you get information, what you do with that information. So in this case, we add it to a Google Doc, we share that link, we send that document through email. What will change is this in between. So what do you do with the information? I like to specify, let me show you a graph, 1 second. Okay, it's not a very complex graph, but just to explain you. This will be the data entry. So you getting the data from somewhere. It can be different things. It can be a spreadsheet, it can be an Airtable form. this will be data treatment. So now that we got this data, what do we want to do with this data? In our case, the case here that I showed you, is create emails. And then you have data exit. So now that this data was treated, what do you want to do with this data? Because here you can do a lot of things, and I think I have this in the document. For example, once you have this data, you can also, let me put a router here. Okay, it won't work. But for example, you can send this document as well on Slack to your team members, and you can add as well this data to Airtable. Once the information has been completed and treated, you can pretty much do everything that you want with it. Let's say you also have ClickUp. You can also use it. So this is data exit, we'll call it like that. Explaining the flow again, because I think the most important thing here is that you are able to understand it, because if you can understand it, then your mind can begin to think of all the possibilities that can be done regarding this way of building. Let's say, so the webhook will capture information every time the form is filled. That information will be used in all the large language models to complete the task you prompted it to. Those outputs will be added to a pre-made Google Doc. That Google Doc will then be sent via email to the user. Simple. You now have a fully functioning automated service. Whenever you want to update a system, there will be two places where you will do so. At a prompt level, so you coming in here and adding extra things, and at a Google Docs level, so for example, updating this, whether the branding, this copy, this is where mainly you will make your changes. Like I showed you, there are a lot of steps you can add depending on your business. For example, you can add a step that takes all the information from the automation, so the client details plus the final document, and adds it to an Airtable. You can add a step that pings people on Slack when the automation runs. You can add a step that adds the user to your CRM whenever someone fills it, etc, etc, etc. It's where creativity and knowing your business, your systems, your processes come into hand. This would be an example of after it's done and the email is sent, we'll update the Airtable. If you need any help during this process, our team is available to help. This is a dedicated link that you can use to book a call whenever you run into some troubles. You will only be able to see this link if you have access to this document. And if you want us to build one of these solutions for you, but you can't be asked to go through the learning curve, we are available to build one of these for you with no monthly retainers involved. So this is a one-time fee. As you can see here, it's a one-time build. Plus, we will cover all the tech costs for you, so you only pay a one-time fee. So we cover API costs. If this sounds interesting, you can speak with us regarding it here. And that is pretty much it, pretty much everything that I wanted to show you in today's video. So if you like this, you can check the links down below in the description. You can like, you can subscribe, you can share, you can comment, you can ask any questions. I am available to answer them. Thank you, and I wish you a good day.